So yesterday we were discussing about the statistical process control, and among that there are seven quality control tools, or Magnificent Seven, we can call it as. So that we were discussing about, and yesterday we discussed the what you call histogram, and then check sheet a little bit. And so check sheet is nothing but it can be very useful in the data collection activity, and we have taken an example of for the defects identification in the tanks. And generally, when you are going to design a check sheet, it is very important to clearly specify. It is very important to clearly specify the what kind of data to be collected, and what is the part or operation number. Means part number, because you are producing so many parts. So among those, which part you are going to be studying. So and also the date, on which date you have started the collection of data, and analyst, who is the person is going to analyze this particular data, and any other information useful in diagnosing the cause of poor performance. So these are the four important things which you need to be considered while designing a check sheet. So if the check sheet is the basis for the performing further calculation, or is used as a worksheet for data entry into computer, then it is important to be sure that check sheet will be adequate for this purpose. So if you are using the same for purpose of as a data entry, then it should be made in such a way that it is accessible for the data entry. And in some cases, a trial run to validate the check sheet layout and design may be helpful. Suppose before going to start the collection of data, the validation of the check sheet design and layout is also very important in some cases. So this is what the yesterday we discussing about the check sheet, which is defect data collected for a particular part number, which is mentioned as TAX 41, I mean tank EX 41, and the location is also mentioned, and the date is also mentioned, and the name of the analyst is also mentioned. So here the different types of defects which are all to be taken consideration in the inspection of a tank, and generally these are the defects will be appear. And parts damage, see in the 2002 parts damage is like two parts damage is one, and four defects are there. In the particular parts damage is four defects. If it is having, then there are three components are there. Put together total it is going to be 34. So likewise, adhesive failure, powdery paint out of limits, and then film on parts. So that kind of film on parts, there are three components are there which are having the six defects. So likewise, for each and every part will be made like this check sheet, and then we are going to analyze the data. So next we'll go to the one more quality control tool, or for the continuous process improvement. For continuous improvement is called as Pareto chart. Pareto chart is also called as 2080 rule. 2080 rule. We can use that vital few useful many, and also we can call it as vital few useful many. And this Pareto chart is simply a frequency distribution of attribute data arranged by category. So it is a frequency distribution data, means frequency distribution in sense how much. Say for example, if I am measuring the defects, there are, say for example, 5 to 6 defects in a particular component. So defect 1, defect 2, defect 3, defect 4, defect 5, like that. All these 5 defects are categorized, and then you are going to calculate the defect 1 is how many parts as having the defect 1, how many parts has having the defect 2, how many parts are having the defects 3, like that. We are going to find out the occurrence, the number of occurrence we are going to find out using this. Now, Pareto charts are often used in both the measure and analyze steps of DMAIC. So measure and analyze steps also they are going to use these Pareto charts, because we need to identify the problems or defects. We need to identify the defects by using the measure and analyze process, because measure is nothing but which we discussed in the DMAIC Six Sigma methodology. Measure the current performance. So if I want to measure the current performance, I need to have the data. And after getting the data, it should be arranged in a particular category wise. So that the Pareto chart is going to do that kind of job. So analyze. Then once you have the data in arranged format, then it will be easy for analyzing the data. So for these two steps, measure and analyze steps, these Pareto charts will be used. and it is a graph that ranks the data classification in descending order from left to right, in descending order from left to right. So this Pareto chart is a kind of a graph and which ranks the data classification in the descending order. So maximum to minimum from left to right, from left to right. And Pareto diagram is used to identify the most important problems. This is called as vital few. Vital few means vital, very important, and very few. But the very important but very few will be contributed for that. And construction of Pareto diagram. So how to construct this Pareto diagram? There is a 5 steps are there in constructing the Pareto diagram. Determine the method of classifying the data. Determine the method of classifying the data by problem cause, by problem or a cause, by non-conformity. Non-conformity means the defects and so forth. If you want to classifying the data based on the problem or based on the causes or based on the defects, so it can be the method of classifying you need to mention. So determine the method of, as we discussed just now, that defect 1, defect 2, defect 3, like that I have choose the data, classifying the data based on the defect, based on the defect. Likewise, you can classify the data based on the problems as well, or you can define the data based on the cause. And after determining the method of classifying the data, then decide if cost or frequency. So you need to look at the cost point of view, or you need to look at the occurrence of the defects point of view. So if the cost is occurring more, or the defect number of defects occurring in that particular frequency, occurrence of that particular defect is more. So which you want to decide, either the cost or frequency. Both are to be used to rank the characteristics, of course. Sometimes both are can be used to rank the characteristics. Cost is also very important criteria in identifying, because you need to reduce the cost and also reduce the defects. So both can be used to rank the characteristics. Then third step is collect the data for an appropriate time interval, or use historical data. Collect the data for an appropriate time interval or use the historical data. That is, you need to collect the data for appropriate time, like span of 1 year, or span of 2 years. Like that, you need to have a time interval for collection of the data. Or if you are not collecting the current data, and you can use the historical data also. And the step 4 is summarize the data. After getting all the data, after collecting the data, you need to summarize the data and rank order categories from the largest to smallest, Then finally construct a diagram and find vital few. Vital few means which are few but very important to consider, very important to consideration. Okay. So these are the 5 steps are used for constructing the Pareto chart. So this is one example I have taken for defect analysis. As I told you that defects is a one classifying the data. Here I have taken the defects. So defects 1, defect 2, defect 3, defect 4, like that. So it is categorizing if a B, C, D rather than 1 and 2, 3. But defect 4, if I take this A, B, C, D, defect 4 is contributing more number of defects. Defect 4 is occurrence. Defect 4 occurrence is high, that is 870, whereas the defect 5 is occurring at 650. So if you look at these two only contribution around 65%. So maximum contribution of the defects is 1, 4, and 5. So these occurs with almost 73%. If you look at this point, and these are all very important which you need to focus on. So those defects has to be minimized or reduce or avoid these defects, or you need to nullify these defects so that we can improve the process. So defect 4 and defect 5. Why this defect 4? Because you have measured and you are analyzing now data. You are analyzing the data here. Defect 4 and defect 5. Why it is causing defect 4 and defect 5? Why it is? What are the problems? What are the root cause of this? So that has to be identified. So here the primary focus on these defects is very important. See here, I have taken the number of defects means frequency data. So as I told you that the data can be taken in the second step, decide if cost or frequency are both. So I have taken the frequency in this case. So frequency on the y-axis, and then name of the defects on the x-axis. So the data characteristic is measured is defects here. Okay, so here it causes around 70%. If you take look at this, the other defects from here to almost 9 defects we have taken, around the 7 defects has contributes very less percentage, around 20% only. 20% is defects are caused by only these are all I and H, G, C, B, A. But DE, defect 4 and defect 5 causes the 80%. So vital few means we need to focus, primary focus on these defects only, means the very which are very important to reduce the, so that the we can avoid, I mean we can reduce the non-conformities, we can reduce the non-conformities. That is how we need to focus by using the Pareto charts, where it gives the 20% of the products contributes very less, and then 80% of the problems causes the to the only less by the less, I mean few, vital few. That is why he has given the name as vital few. Next, when come to this cause and effect diagram. So one more is cause and effect diagram. So cause and effect diagram, I think we have already told that to make a note on this, and also asked to write one cause and effect diagram on your own. So it is a kind of name itself says that the cause and effect. So here first you need to find out what is the effect, and to avoid to arrive at this particular effect, what are the causes is what are the causes made this effect, what are the causes this made effect. So a cause and effect diagram, is a picture composed of lines and symbols designed to represent a meaningful relationship between the effect and causes. So the effect will be on the right side and the causes will be on the left side. Once a defect, error or problem has been identified and isolated, for further study we must begin to analyze the potential causes of this undesirable effect. So when I say here the effect, when I say the effect, here the effect may be is a bad effect or it may be a good effect. So if it is a bad effect, we can reduce, I mean we can find out we can find the corrective action, and we can find corrective action, and we are going to implement that particular bad effect. I mean these are the causes, whereas the good effect, if you have got a good effect, then we can learn that particular how this has happened, good result has given. So based on the good results, that has to be carried out further whenever it comes. So it is a kind of, we are making standardized that particular thing if it is a good effect. So through cause and effect diagram we can get we may get either bad or good effects, and the cause and effect diagram is a formal tool frequently useful in unlayering the potential causes and in identifying the potential causes. And the cause and effect diagram is very useful in the analyze and improve steps of DMAIC. So that is a Six Sigma methodology. DMAIC is a Six Sigma methodology where the define, measure, analyze, and improve and control. So here analyze and improve, in the phase of analyze and improve, we use the cause and effect diagram. So measure and analyze, we use the Pareto chart. We use the Pareto chart, and check sheets also can be used in the measure chart. Okay, so these are all some of the statistical tools which are using in the Six Sigma methodology. So define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. So here analyze and improve process in the phases of analyze and improve in the Six Sigma methodology, the cause and effect diagram will be helpful. And the cause and effect diagram constructed by quality improvement team assigned to identify the potential problem areas. So here the cause and effect diagram constructed by quality improvement team assigned to identify the potential problem areas, means first major problems will be identified, and then sub, like major causes to be identified, then minor causes from that major causes to be noted down. Now how to construct this cause and effect diagram? So first you need to define the problem or effect to be analyzed. So problem or effect is, as I told you that in the class we have discussed about that results. Okay, effect, say for example a failure of a particular subject. So if a failure of a subject, what are the causes for failing that particular subject? So what are the major areas, problem areas causes this particular failure? So that is the defining the problem, defining the effect to be analyzed. Second one, and to analyze this effect or a problem, we need to form a team. to perform the analysis or for identifying the root causes, So this team will uncover the potential causes through brainstorming. So this the team which is formed to identify the potential causes, this can be done through brainstorming. And draw the effect box, and the center line. Then specify the major potential cause categories. And join them as boxes connected to the center line. So here, if you look at the fifth step is, of course, specify the major potential causes category. Major potential causes categories, in the sense, generally there are 5 or 6 major materials, man, methods, environment. Okay, so these are all machines. All will come under the major causes of categories. So then identify the possible causes and classify them into the categories in step 4. Step 4, we told that it is the maybe because of the machines, or maybe because of the methods, or maybe because of the materials, or maybe because of the machineries. So all these to be identify the causes, and then you need to classify them into categories which I have stated in the step 4, and then create new categories if necessary. Suppose if it is other than these 5 categories you may found with the environment, that also can be created as a new category. Next, sixth step is rank, order the causes to identify the those that's most likely to impact the problem. So you need to ranking that particular means which are the problems, which are the root causes impacting this particular problem or effect. So you need to identify the most causes which are very impacting the high impact on the particular effect, and take the corrective action. So these are the 7 steps is followed. The 7 step is followed in. This is one example which I have taken. Say, for example, a car will not start. So generally, the car will not start, in the sense, this is the effect which you have got. So here, if I want to find out this effect, so first and all thing, I need to have the major subcategories. That is the which I have discussed in the step 4. Step 4 is major categories. This may be because of the materials. Materials, in the sense, you may not have the key, or you may not have the petrol. Okay, so machines, then measurement, or environment, or people, methods. So these are the 6 major categories which you have broadly given for this effect. What is the effect? Car will not start. Car is not starting at all. So what are the causes? This is the effect, and these are all called, which are on the line on the left side, is called as a causes. So you need to draw a center line, and these are called effect boxes. It has to be represented in the box. Like, no, materials is to be in the box. Likewise, even this sub-reasons also, subcategories also to be mentioned in the box. Okay, so this is the effect which I have taken, and what are the materials, and what are the machines, and then what are the measurement and environment and people and methods. So when you write down all the causes, probable causes or possible causes, that is through brainstorming. We have arrived at all these kind of problems. One is the lost the key, out of the gas, starter is not broken, battery is dead, gas gauge is broken, and tool too cold, a lack of training, then not pressing accelerator, lack out of the car, using the wrong key. So these are all the possible causes which I have identified through brainstorming. So when you identify all these possible causes, these causes has to be classified. And then it has to be put accordingly with the major categories. So categorize the possible causes under the major categories. So materials, key is one material, and then petrol is also material which is used for the running the car. So maybe you don't have the petrol, or maybe you lost the keys. That's why you're not able to start the car. And methods. So the method which you apply, see how to start the car by not pressing the accelerator. Maybe you're not pressing the accelerator, so that it's not going it's not moving at all, and locked out of the car. So you are locked out of the car. And the people, say for example, the person who is riding riding a vehicle, riding a car, here he may forgot code to start the car, or no preventive maintenance because it may not maintain properly. Preventive maintenance is not happen. Maybe using the wrong key or lack of training. It doesn't know how to drive a car or how to start a car itself. So this is also one of the possible causes of this under the people or men, we can say. And then machines. When you look at the machines, the starter broken. So starter itself is, say for example, the machine in the sense that car itself is taken as a machine, and then here starter in the particular car it may be broken, or the battery is dead, which is initiates the starting, or your engine may be overheated, or your engine may be overheated, or battery cables corroded. So these are the possible causes under the machines category. And measurement. So what measurement generally car will not say, for example, your measurement is wrong, means you are not able to measure how much petrol is available, So if the petrol is, if you look at all the cars, you will be having that petrol measurement also. So it will be indicating that half of the fuel is there, full tank is there, or empty. It is if it is in the empty range. So if it is that gauge is broken, if the gauge that measurement gauge is broken, then you don't know that the whether the fuel is there or not. So even the measurement through gas gauge is also a problem. So and one more is very importantly is environment. Environment, sometimes in a too cold environment, car will not start immediately. So this is also one possible causes. So whether the fellow who is starting the car is in the environment, too cold environment or too hot environment, that is also very important. So all are these reflects the possible causes. So under this we need to find out which causes the which gives the impact, more impact on the car, which is a giving the more impact on this particular effect. So that has to be ranked and then take the corrective action. That has to be ranked and then take the corrective action. That is the sixth step which you have discussed. Rank the order that causes the to identify those that seems most likely to impact the problem. All the causes which you have made till now, so that has to be ranked in order, particular order, means first, and I mean ranking the order in the sense which is most uh, important to be looking after that particular cause, and then you need to avoid that and take the corrective action by identifying all those. So this is how the cause and effect diagram is. And one more example which you take the very simple, easily understand, and excessive typing errors. So if you look at this, I have only man, machine, method, and material. So environment is not taken in this. Environment is not taken in this particular example because see in the previous example, the other, as we told that you can take the create new categories in the step 5, create new categories if necessary. Here it is very necessary that this environment category is very important in the this particular kind of effect. So too cold, this is a very important. But generally we will take only 5 M's, that is the man, machines, materials, methods, measurements. Likewise, it is a second example, we have taken man, machine, methods, materials. Even one more category is also not there. Okay. So here, if you look at the excessive typing errors, so if a typewriter getting the effect of excessive typing errors, so it may be because of the man who is working on the typing machine, or the machine itself is going to be a problem, or the method he has adopted is going to be a problem, or the material here we are using is in the typing machine is a paper. So the material is also a problem. So or maybe the ribbons which is used in the typing machine. I think this is the using in the typing machines like which use the olden days typing and all. So based on that he has given that excessive typing errors. So man in the sense, say for example language problem, or poor shorthand skills, or he may not be untrained properly, or because of high speed, he is going at high speed, probably you may commit errors. And the machine itself is going to be a problem sometimes. So it may be the typing machine itself is a old machine, or there will be a jerk problems, or there will be a problem in the worn out roller, as well as poor maintenance of the machine is also causes leading to excessive typing errors. And the method, if you use the method in the sense omitting spell check, because it might be sometimes you might have used the spell check. And impatient typing, too fast dictation, might be you are dictating so fast. And work pressure, might be work pressure. And the material talks about the paper, ink, ribbon, alphabets and all those. So might be having the poor quality of paper on which you have taken the printout, or it may be of poor quality ink which you have used for typing, and it may be a missing alphabets, maybe the alphabets which are you are missing, or worn out ribbon, maybe the worn out ribbon, the ribbon which is used for typing on that particular thing, maybe it is worn out. So that's why the errors, maybe it's, that's why it's not displaying it. So these are the possible causes. These are the possible causes which causes most giving the typing errors that has to be ranked. I mean identified, and then we need to take the corrective action on that particular possible cause. So this is the two examples which we discussed. Next, moving to the this one, cause and effect diagram. How it is going to be useful for the all the organization, business organization or service oriented organization. So here it can analyze, these diagrams can be analyzed the actual conditions for the purpose of product or service quality improvement, more efficient use of resources and reduced costs, more efficient use of resources and reduced costs, as well as eliminate the conditions causing the non-conformities and customer compliance, standardize the existing and proposed operations, and educate and train the personnel in decision making and corrective action activities. Because it's a kind of procedure which is already there with the how the cause and effect relationship we find out, and you can easily train the personnel and in decision making as well as corrective action activities. Next, one more 7 quality control tools which we are discussing about is defect concentration diagram. Defect concentration diagram. So in the defect concentration diagram, the name itself says the concentration of defects. The concentration of defects, where exactly it is having more defects is occurred in which area, that is to be identified. So a defect concentration diagram is a picture of the unit or a component or a product showing all the relevant views. Means the component which you take or product which you take, that all the views of the particular product has to be taken. That's front view, top view, side view, okay, and left side view, right side view, bottom view, okay, all this will be taken. So all the relevant views to be taken. Then the various types of defects are drawn on the picture. Then the various types of defects are drawn on the picture, and the diagram is analyzed to determine whether the locations of the defects on the unit conveys any useful information about the potential causes of the defects or not. And defect concentration diagram is very helpful in analyzing the step of DMAIC method. So in the analyzing step, this defect concentration diagram is also used depending on the type of manufacturing process or manufacturing product or product unit. We are going to use the defect concentration diagram also. So here we'll take one example. One example here. Figure shows a defect concentration diagram for the final assembly stage of refrigerator manufacturing process. So this is when it comes to the final assembly stage, we have to identify the surface finish defects. We need to identify the surface finish defects, which is located. See here, the front view of the refrigerator is drawn, bottom view of the refrigerator is drawn, top view of the refrigerator is drawn, the side views and right side view, left side view, back view, all these views are drawn. So in this, if I have drawn these views, then I have identified the surface finish defects, and it is shaded with the dark shaded. This particular area which more surface defects are there, that area is dark shaded. So if you look at this one, this left side view, this is the area which is defects are concentrated more, surface defects are concentrated more. And if you look at the front view, and here and even the corners also damaged. So here the corners also there is a defects. So if you look at these two corners, there is a damage. And here is, if you take the back views also, there is a concentration is more, and here and then here and here and here. So if you take the right side view of this particular refrigerator, and it has a surface defects concentration is more on this particular area, and as well as bottom of this also corners. So these two corners and the surface of these defects all are shown in the shaded portion. So it means that, so why these areas, these defects are occurred. So when it is at the final stage, see when it is the refrigerator is moving, when you are moving the refrigerator, then these corners will be damaged. When the corners are damaged, when you use the particular material handling equipments, use the material handling equipments, so you're not properly handled this material. So you're not handled properly this material. That's why this shows that more is on the surface where you hold the material, where you hold the material. That's why the surface defects are more on this area. And the corner is also, why corner means when you moving this refrigerator, these corners may get damaged. So that's why when it comes to the assembly stage, because this component has to move from one stage to the other stage. So when it is moving to the final assembly stage, these are the things which is identified as the defects. So next we move on to the how it can be nullified. See, if we use the proper material handling equipment, and if you use the what you call proper moving this particular refrigerator from one place to the other place, if you use the proper material handling equipment, it will be nullified. And also for packing and all those, you need to move by packing this particular refrigerator in such a way that the surface which is getting damaged, that area to be made with a ribbon. It should be what you call rounded with a particular ribbon, so that it will be easy to handle that particular surface, so that the surface defects will not occur. And we'll move to the next one more important quality control tools, which is scatter diagram. Scatter diagram is generally is used to identify the relationships between the two variables. Scatter diagrams are used only when there is a if I want to identify the relationship between the two variables, means if one variable is varying, then the how other variable is varying. Mean if I am varying the x, how the y varies. So nothing but if there is a relationship between the two variables, I am going to use this kind of scatter diagrams. So data are collected in pairs on the two variables, that is y and x, or x and y. Then yi is plotted against the corresponding x. So x is taken on the x-axis and y is taken on the y-axis. So with the relation, because the x is increasing, how the y varies. But then we are identifying the relation between the this x and y variables. So the shape of the scatter diagram often indicates the what type of relationship may exist between the two variables. Is it exist a positive correlation or negative correlation, or there is no relation at all? So how this relation that the diagram indicates that there is a relationship exist or not means relationship exists in the sense, if I am wearing the x, then there is a change in the y. If I am wearing the x, if it is there is no change in the y, in the sense there is no relationship exist between these two variables. So it's the simplest way to determine if a cause and effect relationship exists between two variables or not. See here I have taken one example where reclaim flux and as well as the metal recovery. So using the flux, then whether the metal can be recovered or not. So here the scattered, this is the variable x is taken, and then metal recovery is measured on the y-axis. And this shows the scatter diagram relating to metal recovery in percentage from a magnetothermic smelting process, where the magnesium is going to be processed for the magnesium against corresponding values of the amount of reclaimed flux added to the crucible. So how much is going to be added to the reclaimed flux to the crucible in the magnesium. So that is what magnetothermic smelting process, melting that particular magnesium by adding to the reclaimed flux. So how, see, the scatter diagram indicates the strong positive relation, means as you increase the reclaimed flux, then metal recovery will become high. Metal recovery will become high. So here this is the positive correlation. This is called as in increasing trend, then it is called as a positive correlation. If it is in a decreasing trend, like the all dots will come trending downward, then it is called as a negative correlation. So here this represents the positive correlation. This scatter diagram indicates a strong positive correlation between metal recovery and flux amount. That is, as the amount of flux added is increased, the metal recovery also increases. So this is what the scatter diagram, and you may have the negative correlation, or sometimes you may not have any relation at all. Means say if it is having the circular pattern, if these all rods forms the circular pattern, that shows that it is a no relation at all. So you may have positive correlation, negative correlation, or no relation. Next, one more we talk about the process flow diagram. Process flow diagram is nothing but the flow of a process from starting to the end. How the process is going to be happen from the beginning to the end. So it is a schematic diagram that shows the flow of the product or service as it moves through the various processing stations or operations. So it is easy to visualize the entire system and identify the potential trouble spots and locate the activities. So what are the advantages of this process flow diagram? So we may have compares actual versus ideal flow of process. It may serve as a training tool. It may uses the standardized symbols, so it can be easily identify where it exactly the problem exists, and it shows the unexpected complexity, problem areas, redundancy, unnecessary loops, and where the simplification may be possible, and allows a team to reach the agreement on process steps and all those. So when you come to the process flow diagram, these are the symbols which are going to use: process, document, and all this. These are the symbols used for delay, D symbol for storage like this, magnetic disk or storage. We are going to use this, and if we, this is the example which I have taken for bottle filling plant, how the hot blowing process and then filling process and mixing process, drink containers, then filling inspection whether the bottle